Hey guys, so in response to kind of some conversation in regards to deceleration or coming downhill for the backcountry athlete, I wanted to cover a few tips that, and things that you can implement into your training to help you with that, that variable in backcountry athletics, because it's super important. If you're going to be going uphill, especially if you're carrying loads such as a pack, added layers of clothes, a weapon, then at some point you're going to have to come back downhill. Sometimes that's in very steep country, sometimes it's for very long durations. It can be hard surfaces, such as out west where it's very dry and hard. It can also be in snowy, slippery surfaces. And regardless, you're going to have to be applying braking forces, deceleration forces, in order to just keep your own body mass under control, all right, as you're traveling downhill. And there's absolutely some training variables that we implement in our programs. And if you don't purchase a program from Ridgeline, which I recommend that you do, then at least having a better grasp on this concept can help you implement in your own training. And ultimately that's what I'm after, is just providing knowledge and helping other backcountry athletes like myself find more success. So understanding that we must apply braking forces, to slow ourselves down coming downhill, what we call that is eccentric, strength. So having greater eccentric strength, will allow us to basically apply greater forces in what's called flexion. That's when joint angles are getting smaller here, right? Rather than extension. So in sport, like for the competitive athlete or the field sport athlete, we call this triple flexion. So think athletes coming to stop, we get flexion at ankle, knee, hip, and we also get trunk flexion that's going on. Now, coming downhill, just imagine that. So as I'm coming downhill, I've got a slope. Typically you're going to see heel contact first, unless you're sprinting downhill. And if that's the case, you're probably not going to be doing that for very long, especially with weight. So heel makes contact first, because the foot is my brake. That's my braking mechanism. And just like brake pads on your car, the bigger the pad and the more surface area that you can get in contact, then the greater braking opportunity that you have. If I hit with a little bit of a tiptoe on the ground, I'm not going to get a very big brake, and therefore I'm not going to slow down as quickly or as effectively. So heel makes contact first. I roll through, right? Here's the flexion happening. I roll through onto the front of the foot as the other leg, of course I'm on flat ground here, but then the other leg, would transfer through and I make contact again. Heel first. That's deceleration. Heel makes contact to slow my center of mass down, all right? Slows me down, all right, so that I can control that. So what can we do in training? We have a lot of different things that we do with both, competitive athletes, field sport athletes, as well as with backcountry athletes. Here's just a couple simple things that if you have just a few little pieces of equipment, or not, you don't have to have dumbbells. You could absolutely do this with a pack, sandbag, but just to help you, train these muscles to be better at braking, right? Better at slowing you down. So here I'm raised up, and I'm only raised up about 1.5 inches. That's where I recommend starting, especially if you've never trained these things before. We're gonna take a basic forward lunge. So I'm gonna drop down, Here I am in that triple flexion position, and then I'm going to drive back up. So I'm going to kind of counter those forces. Now there I stopped at the bottom. Here I'm going to show you when I drop down, and I'm going to immediately fire back up. Again, I'm down, I load, and fire back up. So you're creating this stretch. Now that's what tears muscles up. That's what really leaves you sore the next day when you're like, why the hell am I so goddamn sore? All I did was hike up that hill, and then I came back down. Maybe you had load on that you didn't before, but you didn't anticipate the amount of trauma or stress that the downhill, is putting into those muscles that are basically just trying to slow you down so you don't fall apart. So again, I'm dropping down, holding load here, out of pack, a plate carrier, vest, etc. I'm going to load up and back up, come back up to the plate. You can do these pulsing. So I'm going to drop down, pulse, up, up, I can do them in what we call an iso catch. So here, I'm gonna drop down and try to stop my body quickly. Drop, hold, and then drive back up. So isometrically, I'm having to kind of hold on at the bottom and stop very quickly versus being super squishy in that bottom position. Drop, hold, and drive back up. We call it an iso catch. Now, from there, you could add a little bit more momentum. Now, understand this as well, in terms of physics, like there is a difference between momentum and inertia, and momentum being, think of that more like the speed, the velocity, that the mass is moving. So in the case, again, of coming downhill, your momentum would be like your velocity, but the more weight that you have on, okay, if you're holding onto a heavy pack, your inertial opportunity, okay, is going to be greater. So think of inertia as like how much force is going to be like that you carry, and then you're going to have to stop that. You'll have to be met with, you know, another force or an object that can have equal and opposing forces against you to stop you. Or we take lots of braking deceleration steps to slow us down. Okay, so just understanding that can be helpful. That there is a difference between momentum and inertia, but both are important when you're training this stuff. So here, I'm taking a band. These are really basic. We call these Superbands. You can find them all over the internet. This is a 3/4 inch. I've just got it wrapped around that post there. And all I'm gonna do is step back, right? So this thing is going to increase my momentum as I drop forward, okay, and come back up. So I'm having to push back against this, right? Like, oh, this thing's trying to collapse me, like pull me into lots of flexion, and I'm going to resist that and drive back up. I can do the same pulsing, 1, 2, right? So I'm getting a more reactive strength there. If you think about coming downhill, it's going to be step after step after step. So it is helpful to have this kind of cyclical nature to our training. Or you could do your iso catch. I drop down, hold, I stop quickly. How quick can I apply those braking forces, right? That's super helpful too. And then I can also change the plane. So I can be more here, right? Here I am, lateral lunge. And again, the lunge is nice because in backcountry athletics, we don't really work on 2 legs at a time. You're hiking, you're going up, you're coming down, you're side hilling. There's always angles, slope, etc. You're working off of 1 leg. So, you know, like bilateral lifts, being like a squat, goblet squat, we still utilize those, but honestly, they're less valuable at certain points in the year in your training. And again, that's where having a structured program can be really helpful, save you a lot of time, a lot of headache in trying to figure it out. But if I could pick one type of pattern, you know, it would definitely be unilateral, meaning on 1 leg at a time, because that's how we move in the backcountry. I mean, it's very simple. So you don't need all these squat racks and bars, etc., to become very effective as a backcountry athlete. Now, the other thing to understand is that if you're overweight, all right, like, dude, or chickies out there, like, it doesn't matter. If you are overweight, your inertia, right, how much load, mass that you have to slow down is greater. Okay, so 2 individuals of the same height and the same training history and program, etc., but one of them carries another 20 to 30 pounds, okay, especially if it's not muscle mass, right? That's not going to help you. It's something we call relative strength. So you have to have enough strength relative to body mass, body weight, to like effectively be able to slow you down. The person with greater load, especially if that is not helpful mass, like again, like fat, is not going to help you. And in the backcountry, the athletes with the greater relative strength, okay, so strength to body mass, they're going to be more effective. They're going to see less soreness. They're going to have a much easier time with deceleration, okay? There's less to slow down per their strength. So lose the extra weight, all right? Don't eat like an idiot and train in such a way that like you're going to need to reduce your body fat, your body composition needs to improve in order to make you better in the mountains. And that's plain and simple. And it's going to keep you alive longer, whether you are doing backcountry activities or not. It's simply going to make you a more metabolically healthy individual. All right, so lose the weight. Lose the weight first, then get fancy with your training before you can do that part of it, right? Just stay simple with your training. And again, if you want help, be sure to reach out to us, Ridgeline Athlete, and we got everything that you need. So I hope that helped, guys. Keep charging.